Okay, you were going to ask some question, or you made some comment about Vatsala Prabhu. Before that, I request Vatsala Prabhu, because just yesterday you were singing the Gai Gaura Madhur Share. And actually I was recently in Czech Republic, and Janananda Maharaj was singing that also. And I just thought, we used to sing that regularly a lot in the early days, because we had that songbook made by Achyutananda. That was one of the songs, but I just say I hadn't sung that in a long time. And then again I heard you sing it now. Would you like to sing it now? The Gai Gaura Madhur Share? We can put it up on the screen. We'll sing that. More bliss from the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Should we read the translation before we sing it? And we need a mic for Vatsala Prabhu. And this should be put off now. Oh, first we read the translation, right? That's very easy to understand. At least it's very easy to understand for me, but if you don't know Bengali, it might not be very easy to understand. Well, I can give the translation. Gai Gaura Madhur Share. Lord Chaitanya sings in a very sweet voice. What does he sing? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. What's the next line? Griha Tako Bane Tako Shada Hari Bale. It's very easy to understand. Whether you're living in your home or in the forest. Actually, if you're in Atlanta, you can be in a home and in the forest at the same time, right? It's a city and the forest. But wherever you are, whether you're in Atlanta or New York City or in Georgia State somewhere, always chant the name Hari. Grihe Tako Bane Tako Sada Hari Bale Dako Sukhe Dukhe Bhulo Nako Sada Hari Nam Vodane Harinam Bolore. So, material happiness, material distress, just keep that sound coming out of your mouth. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then, Maya Jale Badda Hoye, Acho Miche Kajaloye. Being the, we're caught in the net of Maya, and we have sometimes doing good work, pious work, sometimes sinful work. Achao Micho Kaj Loye. Now just wake up from all this nonsense. Ekona Chaitanya Pe Sada Radha Madhav Nam Bolore, and chant the names Radha Madhava. Jivana Hailo Shesh Na Bhajilo Rishikesh Bhakti Vinodopadesh Egba Nam Roshe Matore. Now life is coming to an end. Jivana Hailo Shesh. You didn't worship Krishna, Rishikesh. So Bhaktivinoda's instruction is just at least one time chant the name of Radha Madhava. Nam Gai Gaura Madhu Share Nam Gai Gaura Madhu Share Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Jai Gaura Madhusare
Grihe Tako Bhane Tako Shadda Hari Bole Dako
Grihe Tako Bane Tako Sada Hari Namre Tako
Grihe Bane Bhane Tako Sada Hari Bole Dako
Grihe Tako Bane Tako Sada Hari Namre
Bole Dako Suke Doke Bolo Nako Badane Hari Nam Korore
Sukhe Duke Bolo Nako
Badane Hari Nam Korore Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Mayaya Jale Bada Hoye Hacho Michi Kajaloye
Michaya Bashe Bada Haye Acho Miche Kajloye
O Maya Jale Bada Hoye Acho Miche Kajaloye
Maya Jale Bada Hoye Acho Miche Kajloye Ekono Chaitanya Peye Radha Madhavanam Korore Ekana Chaitanya Peye Radha Madhavanam Korore Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nam Gai Ora Madhusare
Nam Gai Dora Madhusare
Jivana Hoilo She Na Bhajile Hishike
Jivana Hoilo Shesh Na Bhajile Hrishike
O Jivana Hoilo Shesh Na Bhajile Hishike
Jivana Hoilo Shesh Na Bhajile Hrishike
Bhakti Vinodo Padeshik Varna Rasamatare
Bhakti Vinodopadeshik Nirvanam Rasamatare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Nam Gai Gaura Madhusare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare No, 1, 2, 3 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Oh Hari Bol
Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol
Hari Bol
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol
Jai Gaur Hari Bol
Gaur
So You were going to ask something, Vatsala Prabhu? Some comment from this morning?
Not a comment, a question. I just wanted your take on the idea of bridge preaching. Used to hear a lot more about that.
I wrote a book called On Strongly Speaking in Śrila Prabhupada's Service, and I discussed in there about bridge preaching. Actually, all preaching is bridge preaching, because we may not be on the right side of the bridge, but we may not be fully in Krishna consciousness, but we're taking that position, and as servants of the pure devotees, we take the position that we are in the right position and you're in the wrong position. It's not I'm okay, you're okay, I'm okay, you're not okay. But we can't, that's a quote from Śrila Prabhupada. When this idea was brought to Prabhupada, I'm okay, you're okay, Prabhupada said, that's not our preaching. Our preaching is I'm okay, you're not okay. That's also mentioned in that book. So, we just can't walk up to well, we can, but it's generally not very effective preaching to walk up to someone on the street and say, you're completely in Maya, you're in illusion, surrender to Krishna on the spot. Although we do have the Dante Nitaya Turnakang, you're a great person, you're so great. Yeah, you've understood. You're very intelligent. You wanted to say something to me? Yeah, just give up all your hogwash nonsense ideas and surrender at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. This is the preaching method. But all preaching means we're trying to catch people's consciousness at some level and bring it toward Krishna. So all preaching is bridge preaching. I do intend to speak about this a bit more tomorrow, as I speak about it many times. But we'll have to see. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. If people actually come to Krishna consciousness, many times I see that devotees, they're so indirect that even though they bring people in, that they never really, they bring people into what they're doing, but what they're doing is so indirect that they don't really bring people into Krishna consciousness. And it may be that sometimes devotees go over the bridge to bring people in, but they stay on the other side of the bridge. So I'm not so much in favor. I wonder how we're going to preach Krishna consciousness without mentioning Krishna. But if you can do it, all well and good. Yeah. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching method is to go village to village and chanting the holy names. Mukunda Madhava Jadava Hare Bolana Bolare Bodana Barim Miche Nida Boshe Gelore Rati Deboshe Sharira Saji. Come on, you, what are you doing sleeping? Get up. You spend your nights sleeping and your days just you doing useless work. Chant the holy names. That's Chaitanya. If you don't worship Krishna now, you're going to go down to a shameful condition. So, yeah, you can do the indirect methods, but they shouldn't be too indirect or too slow, because life is short. We've got a long way to go. Let's see. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, as we say. There is a contention. I'm going to speak. I'm anyway planning to speak on this tomorrow. There is a contention that, well, we can't preach in the way that they did in the 1970s. That's all out of date. Times have changed. But here at Krishna Life, our aim is to prove that wrong. That Krishna consciousness, as it is, as it was, can be as it is. There's still the holy name and Prabhupada's books, and it works.
Well, sometimes they say, though, that The books need a bridge.
The books need to be abridged.
No, a bridge. In other words,
The books as a bridge.
Bhagavad-gita, maybe Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita is too much for somebody, so they need a...
Yeah, it's too much for the conditioned soul. It's a heavy thing. Surrender unto me, give up all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. Yeah. No one's going to relate to that, right? No one's going to read Prabhupada's books and become a devotee. So it's not possible, right? How many of you first got a book and then later came to Krishna consciousness? So, may not be that everyone comes, but those who come, they're precious souls. And Bhagavad Prabhu's been going out. It's a great austerity for Bhagavad Prabhu to come here, because he won't be going out on the streets, because he lives on the streets and in the airport, giving out books. And the books are having their effect. But yeah, there may be other books. Just like actually one of the first books that was compiled after Śrila Prabhupada passed away was The Science of Self-Realization, which is Śrila Prabhupada's. It's only Śrila Prabhupada, but it's on topics which are very specifically suitable for people in the Western world. Oh, actually, Vijay Prabhu, he said that this Bhagavad-gita as it is, so many people come specifically by reading that. And another book I very much like to see distributed is the Science of Self-Realization, because it has so many topics which are relevant, people can immediately relate to. But this coming back, it's not written by Prabhupada, but I think that book should be distributed. It's based, it says, based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, Śrila Prabhupada, and it's specifically on that point of reincarnation. So that is, and even the higher taste, it addresses vegetarianism, but it has so much Krishna conscious preaching right there. So yeah, you can say these are bridge books, bridge preaching. But Śrila Prabhupada did want many books written to different people with different interests, different audiences. Can be. Cooking classes, vegetarian cooking classes have been successful in bringing people into Krishna consciousness. Teaching English in China can be a way to get people. But we should never give up the straightforward preaching of Krishna consciousness. And even when we're teaching people English, we should do it with. I know in Nepal years ago, Hansa Gati was doing that, teaching English with Prabhupada's Krishna book. And it's actually a very good medium, because the English is very good in Prabhupada's books, thanks to the much maligned editors, but it is. Well, Śrila Prabhupada's expression is very beautiful, and the editors have put it into standard English. So yeah, it's very clear, lucid. It's actually very good for learning English, is to read Śrila Prabhupada's books. But you get the philosophy of Krishna consciousness at the same time. So there may be other programs. Maybe there. But we'll have to see if we are. But as I was saying at midday, we shouldn't be afraid to hiding Krishna and pretending not to be a devotee. And always, what will people think? Someone pointed that out to me recently. They have these YouTube videos, and what was it? There was a TED talk with some Ramakrishna Mission sannyasi, and he just comes out straightforwardly and says, "I'm going to teach Fide. I'm from the Ramakrishna Mission." He doesn't hide it. Doesn't feel any need to. Why should you? So I'm a Hare Krishna monk. If you don't like it, that's your problem. What is this? I first came to America sometime in the 1980s, and I'd heard that no one likes us, they're all against us, and so much bad publicity. But I just have a policy. Some countries which I go to, just to get through the immigration, you have to wear kami clothes, and when you go on the streets, you have to go in kami clothes. But not in America. It's the land of the free, right? So. And I enter the country like this, and many times I'm drilled by the immigration. What are you doing? This and that. Which if I come in kami clothes, I probably wouldn't. But anyway, I come in these clothes, and I tell them, Hare Krishna, and this and that, and they eventually let me in. But I didn't find that people, like everyone's pulling out their guns and shooting you, and even verbally. People seem to like it, actually, more than dislike it. I was just walking around in the streets of Atlanta with you a few days ago. We were just walking around, you're holding books, and twice people driving in their car stopped and said, "Hey man, what are those books you got?" If we'd have been in kami clothes, that wouldn't have happened, right? So there may be a need for, or a scope for bridge preaching, but there's so much scope for direct preaching that why bridge preaching? Why bother at all? We can. It's just like there's. If you're mining coal, and then there's so much coal on the surface which you can just pick up, and then why go in deep into the difficult to mine deep mines when there's so much right there on the surface? So when there's so much, we can preach directly, and people will come. So, it may be, in some circumstances, you have to go in like a needle and out like a plow. But I don't see it's like that in America. And in the quote-unquote free world, you can go on the streets and chant Hare Krishna. And there will be some people who don't like it, but we're not going to just hide away because some people don't like it. Do you think everyone liked Billy Graham? He would, just for instance, Billy Graham. He wasn't shy to present. Then I'm a Christian, and this is it. And generally the Christian preachers, why we can take a lesson from them, right? They don't say, well, actually, I'm a Christian. They're not shy. They come out and say it. So why can't we say? What is the difficulty? That you were selling some books to that German man, and I was saying, I was talking to him also, and I said, yeah, we're presenting Krishna. He said, oh, Krishna. I said, yes, Krishna. And he bought the book. It was like, Krishna? Yes, Krishna. And he bought the books. He was very reluctant. And then he said, is it okay if I give you $50? Like that. He was like, at every step he was very reluctant, but then, I'll give you $50. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Don't be afraid. We've got Krishna on our side. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna, Yatra apahrta-jnanis, Tatra Shriya Vijayo Bhuti, Dhruva Nityam Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will certainly be all opulence, morality, and victory. Tatra Shriya Vijayo Bhuti, Dhruva Nityam Matir. Sanjay says, that is my opinion. You ask my opinion, Dhritarashtra, who's going to win this battle? Krishna's there, Arjuna's there, there'll be victory there. So he didn't outright say in that sentence that your sons are going to be defeated, but there's no hope There's no hope for the Kauravas because Krishna and Arjuna are there opposing them. So we can be straightforward. And we have to see circumstance also. Different individuals, how much they can accept when we're preaching. That's part of preaching. Again, it's not that you go up to everyone and just tell them to surrender on the spot. But they can surrender a few dollars and take some books. That you can do. Yeah, the biggest preacher of all. Distributing
on that point
thousands
of
of
why go
Prabhupada's
digging
books.
for the coal that's deep and difficult to get to, and you can just scoop it off the top. The other day we were at a 2-year college out in the outskirts of Los Angeles, and it was kind of quiet, so we were packing up, and we were just pretty much all packed up and just getting ready to go. And Ananda Kirtan, by the way, he's my partner, and he always wears saffron. He always goes dressed like a brahmachari. I'm wearing Western clothes, but. So just as we're getting ready to leave, some lady comes walking out of the office, out of some building, and she sees him dressed as a brahmachari, and she goes like that. Mm. And Ananda Kirtan just immediately said to her, "Would you like the Srimad Bhagavatam?" Just right like that. And she says, "Yeah." yeah. And he just showed her the books, and he kept talking a bit more, but basically she said yes straight away, and he sold her a set of Bhagavatam just like that. The ripe fruit. There's a lot of ripe fruit out there.
There's a lot of ripe fruit out there. Yeah.
If we cover up, then you miss them. So, anyway, I just share that little.
Yeah.
Story.
It's Ananda Kirtan. Jai.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This morning we talked about academics and how in academia there's so much anti-religious or spiritual feelings. So I came across this website, it's called academia.edu. This was started by an Oxford professor, and it's got like 194 million registered users. And what they do is they upload research papers, over 40 million research papers for free. It's available to anybody. So the reason it caught my interest is when I did a keyword search on Prabhupada, on the text, on the title of those papers, there's about 18 articles, and out of 18, 10 is written by an ex-ISKCON devotee from Netherlands. So he was in the BBT in Sweden or Netherlands for 20 years, and then he blooped and he joined a programmer in a university in Texas. So what he's been doing is he's been putting up papers on ISKCON being a cult and researching Prabhupada's writings to say he's,
how bad it is.
Yeah, anti-women and homophobic and this and that and the
other.
Yeah,
let it be there among the 40 million others.
So I brought it to Krishna Kirti Prabhu's attention. I said, some scholarly devotee may want to, put out the correct point of view.
I wouldn't bother. Let it sit among 40 million other papers. It's not making waves.
Yeah, so that is my question. Should we let sleeping dogs lie?
Prabhu is answering him every day by distributing Prabhupada's books. People are appreciating. Well, you have that experience also. I read a book by Shravana-kirtana Prabhu about distributing books in the airports, Chicago specifically, O'Hare Airport, Hare Krishna Airport in the 1970s. That sometimes people would come and say, "Don't take the book, it's a cult." And then the people who are listening, sometimes they'd break up themselves, but sometimes that would spur them to buy the book. Because the distributor says, "Don't bother with them." And then the distributor remains confident. Yeah. And that sometimes that would spur people to buy the book also. There are many cases like that.
You were talking about how this morning devotees, they go into universities and they basically they become ruined. So are they like Mayaya, apahrta-jnanis, Guru Maharaj? Is that what happens?
Maya apahrta-jnana. Well, yeah, if that means one's knowledge becomes covered by Maya. That's the great danger, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I've seen quite a few devotees reading some book by Dimock, Edward Dimock. Is he bona fide or is he
Dimock.
bogus? Like,
Edward Dimock was the head of the Department of South Asian Studies in Chicago University, and he's one of the pioneers in studying Gauriya Vaishnavism in the Western world, studying it. And he's dead now. What is it? Something like the place of the hidden moon or something is time. And then he did a translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which all the scholars quote, even our own ISKCON devotees, or the scholarly devotees, they always quote his translation because it's a scholarly one. It's a scholarly edition, his translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita. But actually the Prabhupada's edition is, even from a scholarly point of view, it should be considered better because it's translating in the spirit that the Chaitanya Charitamrita is written. And you say it's not a very reliable translation because it's in a mood of proselytizing. Well, that's the mood of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it wasn't written for mundane scholars, and it's right there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Krishnadas Kaviraj himself says that I'm not writing this for the camel-like personalities, and if they don't appreciate it, all well and good. Let them criticize. So it's Śrila Prabhupada in one commentary, he's talking about the PhDs who study the conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get a PhD, but he said one should take a PhD from Ramananda Rai. So, no, why study what he says? Sometimes the mundane scholar, they can bring out, by their scholarship, they can bring out some interesting points, even concerned with information and just like this text was written in answering that this point is made, it's a subtle rebuttal of another point that an opposing philosopher made. They can point out things like that, but you have to be very careful. There's no need, actually, for most devotees, unless you're in the scholarly field yourself. I am somewhat, inasmuch as, for instance, in my preparing that Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, I read so much about. Actually, I could have read a lot more about the social conditions in Bengal at that time and different things that the mundane scholars were saying. But a lot of what the mundane scholars I got from reading what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself said and what others of his followers said. Then, well,
Can you tell us something about your own adventures as a book distributor?
my own adventures as a book distributor. Well, it was really an adventure because I was distributing the books before. We didn't have Bhakti program in those days. The Bhakti program was you go out on the street and distribute, and it's sink or swim. That was our Bhakti program. So I went to Carnaby Street. That's quite famous in London. Early one morning in London, and some photographer was there. These photographers, what they do is they say, "Hey, stop there!" They say to some tourist, "Stop there!" And they say, okay, I click your photo. Give me your name and address, and I'll send the photo to you, and give us £10. And they never send any photo. There's not even any film inside the camera. And they're just ripping people off all day long. They make good money. But they don't like us being there, because we're also hitting up the same people. So I just early one morning said, well, how long have you been doing this? I guess he must have seen I'm new. I said, 2 weeks. He said, most of them, they don't last long. He's trying to discourage me. So it's the same way. That made me more determined that I'm not going to go away just because this guy says. There's so many things. Actually, in England at that time, we were mostly selling Krishna books, thanks to George Harrison. We'd show people the George Harrison, and he was still very well known and popular. About 10 years ago, I was at Rath Yatra in Dublin. I saw a devotee, Dublin in Ireland. So I saw devotees were distributing Chant and Be Happy. So I said, people still heard of George Harrison and John Lennon. He said, some of them. Such a big figure at the time. We sold so many books on the basis of George Harrison. But now you see already half forgotten. Older people know. Some younger people may know. In Liverpool, Liverpool in England, the Beatles are still well known and popular. Otherwise, fading from memory. And I wouldn't even know who's the... Oh, Gokul Chandra told me recently, the biggest now is Beyonce. Is it? Is that how you pronounce it? Beyonce. He told me she's... For some reason or other, he was watching some video of her. I don't know why. He told me, I couldn't understand why. But so many come and go. If we got a certification from her, we should... She's probably in LA, is it? Most of the singers are there, is it? Don't know. If you get anywhere close to them and give them a book and get your photo taken, and then you could show all the people, this is me giving a book to Beyonce, or whatever her name is. Oh, really? Oh. And you sell books like that. You like Bob Marley, right? Muhammad Ali, Will Smith, Nelson Mandela. You say all the names. They've got nothing to do, nothing particularly to do with the books, but you just say the name.
They all like the book.
They've all taken this book. Actually, it's true. Nelson Mandela got Prabhupada's books.
Tupac Shakur.
Tupac Shakur. I don't know. Tupac Shakur.
Tupac Shakur. He's a popular rap singer.
Yeah, Will Smith.
Will Smith quite likely has some of Prabhupada's books, because he's a Hindu, right? He designates himself as a Hindu. What do you have to do to be a Hindu? What's the answer? Call yourself a Hindu. Either you're born as a Hindu and you're a Hindu, and what do you have to do to convert to being a Hindu? You just say, I'm a Hindu, that's all. You become a Hindu. So yeah, you drop all the big names, right?
I say God is spiritually black.
God's spiritually black. Yeah? Ask him. He's in the fire of Sankirtan. So many experiences. One major experience is mercy. That you can directly feel the mercy of Krishna, mercy of Prabhupada. It's very real. I just wrote an email today. Someone had written to me saying that I want to be a devotee, but I'm struggling with drugs and masturbation and pornography, and what do I do? I said, I just wrote 2 lines. You need a lot of mercy? Try to distribute Prabhupada's books. You'll get a lot of mercy. Just 2 lines reply. Hare Krishna. Jayo Jayo Gaura Chanda Arotiko Shobha. All glories to the assembled devotees. We got some real biggies coming in here. The Los Angeles book distribution team.